So you have wavy hair. Should you use mousse or gel? I like gel and mousse. I've gone through phases where I almost always use gel, and then I've gone through phases where I'm constantly using mousse. And the reason why I've gone through phases of preferring gel and preferring mousse is because they both have lots of benefits, but they both have some drawbacks as well. I'm going to talk a little bit about those pros and cons of each of these to try to help you decide which one you think might be best for you. I'll start with gel, seems how that's kind of the most popular option. I'm going to go over the pros and cons of gel and mousse, but keep in mind that I'm going to be doing some generalizing here. Not all gels are the same, and not all mousses are the same either. Gel is a really awesome type of hair product because it often offers more hold than any other styling product. You can often get really great definition and really reduce the appearance of frizz best by using gel. Because gel often has more hold than other products, that can mean that your hairstyle will last longer than it will with other products without having to refresh. Not all gels are hard hold, but there are hard hold gels out there that have an insane amount of hold that just doesn't compare to any other product that I've found. One example is this Hairy Sculpting Gel. This is just unbelievable hold. Like, I feel like it's practically cement. And the other one is really similar level of hold, but this one is marketed more towards women and doesn't have the strong scent that this one has. This is the Not Your Mother's Curl Talk Hard Hold Gel. Not Your Mother's has a gel that looks almost identical to this in the packaging, but the cap is clear, and that one has much less hold. I think this hard hold gel one with the purple cap is only available at Ulta. But these two gels are examples of a level of hold that gel can provide that I really just don't think any other type of product comes close. I see gel as being the superior choice if you're on a really tight budget or are just a really frugal person. This is LA Looks Mega Shaper Gel. They make a sports gel, which is blue. Seems like people talk about that one more. I've used that one several times, repurchased it several times, but I also buy this one. I don't really see a difference between the two personally. But these bottles are huge. This is like 2.5 times the size of a bottle of gel like this. And this is only $2, I think, at the stores in my area. And this would last you a really long time, even if you have long, dense hair. So as far as keeping your hair care routine really, really affordable, if you go with a cheap gel, you just can't beat it versus mousse or any other styling product, in my opinion. I think gel can be a great choice for people who are new to using styling products, especially when styling on wet hair. I think gels, even gels that aren't particularly sticky, once you've added them to your hair, you can feel your hair with your fingers, and you can usually still get a little bit of a sense of whether there's gel in that section of your hair or not. Where with mousse, a lot of times, once you scrunch it into your hair, the foam kind of just turns into like a wet feeling. And so if your hair is already wet, it can be really challenging to know if you have mousse over all of your hair or not. Where with gel, you can learn to feel it a little bit better, and that makes it easier to make sure you're getting gel all over your hair and that you're getting good distribution and that you're going to get a cast. There are also drawbacks of gel though. The complaint that I see most frequently shared about gel is that people feel that it leaves their hair too crunchy. And I think sometimes that's because people aren't familiar with how to scrunch out the crunch, and so they'll think that that initial gel cast, that stiff, crunchy feeling that they have after using gel is just how their hair has to feel if they're using gel, and that's not the case. If you squeeze your hair, in like wavy and curly hair communities, we call it scrunch out the crunch, it usually can get rid of that stiffness and also get rid of that kind of wet look. And for a lot of people, they'll be happy with their hair after that. However, some people find that even if they really work to scrunch out the crunch, they really try to get rid of that cast, that their hair still just stays feeling crunchy because it's just too stiff for their hair type. I suspect that might be more common in people who have low density hair. Another drawback of gel can just be the texture. Some gels are really sticky, and you have to like wet your hands or have really wet hair in order to work with them. And so it can just kind of be a sensory preference, I suppose. I personally find that I don't mind the feeling of mousses or foams as much as gels. But I also do find that sticky gels have some benefits too. They often have really good hold and can help with clumping. The weight of gel can be a drawback. Uh, I think sometimes this discussion around the weight of gel can be overblown. I sometimes see general statements like gel is too heavy for wavy hair, and I don't generally think that that is true when said that broadly. Uh, in the wavy and curly hair groups that I'm in, it seems to me that a majority of people with wavy hair use gel and get good results from gel and find plenty of gels that aren't too heavy for them. But I have used a couple of gels that are too heavy for my hair type, and so I do think some gels can be too heavy, and I haven't really found that to be the case with Mousse. When I started the curly girl method, for about a year and a half, almost all that I used was gel. I did buy a Mousse and I tried it once, but I didn't like it, and so I just went back to gel, and that was all that I used for about a year and a half. But once I tried a second mousse after that like year and a half, I found that not all mousses are the same and that I can like some mousses, and then I was pretty hooked on mousse for quite a while. When I first tried a mousse that really worked for me, what really blew me away was the amount of volume that I got. I had been happy with the results I was getting with gel, and I wouldn't say that I didn't have volume with gel necessarily, but mousse could just really boost my volume in a big way. And I think that's because it's such a lightweight product, and I was using a mousse that had enough hold. And so it was able to hold my texture and just give me incredible volume that I fell in love with. And I think hair that is fine can do particularly well with mousse. Pretty high on my list of reasons why I like mousse is how they work for refreshing, or at least how some mousses can work for refreshing. With any gel that I've ever used, I can't just add more gel on day 2. I have to wet my hair if I'm going to add more gel. And I don't like re-wetting my hair because then I have to diffuse it and I usually lose volume, and it just makes it into a lot more work. And with the right mousses, especially this one, Cake the Curl Whip Mousse, I can add this to completely dry hair on day 2, 3, whatever, and it dampens my hair a little bit, of course, because there's some water content in mousse. But I don't have to necessarily diffuse my hair again. It's not that wet, and my hair doesn't get sticky, it doesn't get producty. I can apply more of this every day for 2-3 days, and my hair still doesn't feel as producty as it would with your average gel on day 1. So that's a really big benefit of mousse, in my opinion, is easy, quick refreshes. And a somewhat similar point, but mousses can just be less producty than gels. Again, not all products are the same, but there are mousses that can feel really weightless in your hair that aren't very expensive. This, again, is just my favorite mousse when it comes to how my hair feels. This can give me a good amount of hold, and my hair feels closer to product-free than any other product that I've used, and certainly way closer to product-free than any gel that I've ever used. There are downsides to mousses, though, as well. One of the most common things that I hear people complain about mousse is that they feel it dries their hair out. I personally have never really noticed this in my own hair, but my hair type skews over moisturized and it's very sleek, kind of naturally silky, I guess. And so for my hair type, I think getting it a little bit drier isn't necessarily a downside. I think it can actually make my hair hold better. So maybe that's why I don't notice that. Or maybe it's just more drying to certain hair types. Maybe more mousses are more drying than others, but I personally haven't noticed that. But I do see a lot of people say that they avoid mousses because they're drying. Another complaint that I hear about mousses is that people feel that they make their hair stringier than gel. And I haven't really experienced this one either, but I also am not somebody who usually focuses on getting big curl clumps. I don't really mind if my curls are on the skinnier side, but I also think some of that is down to hair type. I have really dense hair, so even when my curl clumps are smaller than some other days, they're not usually going to be really, really skinny. Um, but I also sort of wonder if maybe it's not that mousses make hair stringier, but that gels often help with clumping. Especially slightly sticky gels, I think they can help give you really big curl clumps. And so if people are used to getting assistance with curl clump size from gel and then switch to a mousse, I can understand how that would seem like mousses are stringy by comparison. A slight downside of mousse is that there just aren't as many companies who make mousses, and what companies do make mousses usually make fewer. With gel, pretty much any hair company, especially if they market towards curly hair at all, are going to offer multiple gels. Um, there are hair companies out there that don't make any mousses. I've seen people say that they feel like mousse kind of had its heyday in like the 80s or early 90s, and it's just not like in or it's not trendy right now, so companies just don't make it as much. Um, that's not to say that it's going to be hard to find mousses. You can certainly walk into any store that sells hair products, and I'm sure you'll find some mousse, but you might find that you have a favorite hair company that just doesn't sell mousse. There's just not as many mousses out there as there are hair gels. In my personal opinion, when I think about mousse as a whole category and I think what is the biggest downside of mousse, it's that your average mousse is going to have less hold than your average gel. And my hair does really good with a lot of hold, and so I can't just grab any mousse and expect it to have enough hold for me. I do have to specifically seek out mousses that have a good amount of hold. Thankfully, none of us have to choose just gel or just mousse. Lots of people use gel and mousse in the same wash day. It's common to use mousse on your roots and gel on the ends, and there's also styling techniques that involve layering. Some people use a layer of gel, then a layer of mousse, and then another layer of gel, and mousse, gel, mousse, so layering but in the opposite order, is also a common technique. And then there are people like me who I don't really like using gel and mousse on the same wash day usually, but some days I use gel and some wash days I use mousse, or sometimes I'll use gel on a wash day but refresh with mousse. So it's not like you have to pick just one or the other. And if you've only used gel or if you've only used mousse, I would encourage you to try products from the other category because I do think there's a lot of benefits to these different types of products. Do you prefer gel or do you prefer mousse, and why? Leave me a comment letting me know if your wavy hair prefers gel, if your wavy hair prefers mousse, or if you use both, or are you like me and you use one some days, or do you use both on the same wash day? Let's talk about it in the comments.